In this video, I'm gonna break down when you should pursue marketing and when you shouldn't. I'm also gonna go through the 4 pillars that you need to get right to understand whether your marketing is going to be successful and whether you should hit go on your marketing or kill the campaign. So you can apply this to basically any channel, any niche, any form of marketing you want. It's the same. And it's my 4-pillar method. Now hang around because I'm gonna break down the exact strategies that we used with this 4-pillar method to spend over $7 million on Meta. So what I'm about to share with you actually works. So let's break it down. So the first thing is we have the 4 pillars. So pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, and pillar 4. So I'm gonna break down what each of these are. So it's A, C, V, O. And this is the same pillars that I look through and that I think through when I'm running a campaign. So the first pillar is audience. Now, what do I think about the audience? The first thing that I want to see from an audience is, do they have demand? Okay, so if there's no demand in that specific audience, then I'm not going to pursue it, right? So the first thing is the audience demand. The second thing is their funding capacity. Do they have capacity to pay? If they don't have capacity to pay, then you shouldn't pursue that audience. Now, the third thing is I look at the sophistication. Now, sophistication is how many advertisements are already in that market marketing to your specific audience, because that will determine other components of the 4-pillar framework, but it also determine how easy it is for you to actually get a return on your marketing. Because the thing is, if you're marketing in an already saturated audience, your return on ad spend is going to be lower, so the proposition benefit isn't really there. So you really need to know the market sophistication, aka how many ads have they actually seen before, and determine whether it's even an audience worth pursuing, because you don't want to be heavily advertising to an already saturated market where there's pretty razor thin margins already. Just have a bit of coffee. Now this speaks to, this saturation idea speaks to the reality that in business, you're working with economics, and in a perfect market, which is where all of the gains which you can exploit by being first to market have been eroded because there's so much competition. So full competition, or a perfect market, is where there's so much competition that the margin of actually selling that product is so thin that doing things like, advertising campaigns don't even work anymore because there's just not margin in there. So you need to know the sophistication of the market, how sophisticated it is. Okay, so that's the first thing we look at is we identify the audience. Now there's obviously more factors here, but these are the kind of key. The second thing is I look at the channel, okay? So what channel can I reach this audience the most efficiently, okay? So I look at efficiency of the channel. Now efficiency is really summed up in one key metric, which is your return on ad spend or return on spend. For the amount of dollars that I'm putting into the machine, am I choosing the most efficient channel to get that return? And so channels could be anything like Facebook, email, SMS, LinkedIn, cold calls. Any form of communication has a channel, and there's also a cost involved to promoting on that channel. So cold calls may not be a hard cost in terms of ad spend, but to get the impression of one person usually takes a minute of your time, maybe 5 minutes if you have a conversation, and then you got to divide that by your hourly rate, or what you think your hourly rate is, and that's the cost of one impression, or that's the cost of, if you have 36 dials in an hour, your cost per impression, which is a better impression than say Facebook ads, will be higher with cold calls. But ultimately, that doesn't matter in terms of cost per impression if your ROAS is there. Now, if you guys haven't heard what cost per impression is, or CPM, CPM is the cost of getting your message in front of 1,000 people. So cost per 1,000 people. Now, the next thing I look at, and I'm actually going to skip V and I'm going to go straight to O, is the offer. Okay? So you can also put in brackets under the offer is the messaging. Now, if the offer is not good, all the costs associated with everything else is going to go up. So you want to have a good offer. Now, what is a good offer? Like, you know, in terms of results from a good offer, it really does, again, come down to return on ad spend. But then it's also, you want to look at lifetime value. So for the lifetime value that I'm creating from this client, the lifetime value is how much one customer will pay me in the entirety of their lifetime. If you have an offer that is pump and dump, it doesn't matter how good the offer is, you're going to lose out on LTV. You might get good ROAS, return on ad spend, within the first 30 days, but you want to have something a little bit more sustainable than that. So you want to have an offer that really cuts through the market. Now, how do you create a good offer? Okay, so you need to know market sophistication. You need to know what they've seen before. You need to have picked the best, most efficient channel to run your offer on. And then once you've picked those two things, you need to have an offer that cuts through the market. Now, I'm not going to break down what goes into a good offer here because that's a separate video. But the third thing is the offer, okay? Now, the last thing is the volume required, okay? So volume. So if I spend $1 on Facebook ads, am I going to get any results? No, not at all. If I spend $20 on Facebook ads a day, am I going to get some results? Probably. So it's important to know with volume what your cost per result is, or CPR. So that's another metric that we're going to put up here, which is cost per result. So if we know it takes us maybe 25 dials through cold call to get one booking, okay, our cost per result is our hourly rate divided how long it takes us to do 24 dials. Or if we know it takes $20 to get one lead on Facebook, and you know, we can then spend more on Facebook. And so this is why you need to know the cost per result, because then you'll be able to identify which one, which channel, and which offer, and what amount of volume is required to get the result, okay? Now, if your marketing is not working and you've tried everything, it really comes down, first of all, to the audience. So the first thing you have to look at, is this even a good audience? And a really good way to look at that is to go, you know, has it worked for us in the past? Is it working for others now? And if it is, then you need to understand why it's working for others. Then the next thing you want to look at is usually the volume. So if you're not getting enough leads, you're probably, for a lot of people, you're not spending enough on ads, you're not doing enough outreach, you're just not hitting the numbers required to actually get the result. Or it could be if you're putting in a lot of volume and you've problem solved volume, you've problem solved audience, then it has to be your offer. Offer and the messaging is not good enough. Now, the channel you want to kind of determine before, like not before, but once you've got your audience, you determine your channel and you need to figure out which one works best. And then just dial in these other numbers and you will figure out your CPR, okay? So CPR. Now here's the way to make a lot of money from your ads. Get your cost per result and then figure out to get one booking, how many bookings does it take for me to get one sale? How much do I make from that one sale on average? And then once you figure out those numbers, you figure out your return on ad spend. And then you can determine which offer, which channel, based on which amount of volume gets me the best return on ad spend. And it really is as simple as that. If there's an issue with your advertising, it's one of these 4 components, okay? And for a lot of businesses, you actually can change your audience. So for example, if you are a gym, you could target young people. They don't usually have a lot of money. Or you could change to older people who have much more money. That could be the secret to actually making much more return on ad spend. Or you could work as a landscaper. And instead of working with existing builds, you could work with new builds where they're building a new property, and you could charge a lot more because it's a brand new thing that you're doing just by changing your audience. Could be the same channel, just cold calling building companies. 20 cold calls a day, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. So this is the ACVO method. This is the same framework you can use on any audience, any channel, any niche, because it comes down to these 4 things. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Peace.